Hello, and just wanted to welcome you to the 3:35 session on campus and community partnerships. My name is Mark Gempler. I work for the Office of Ceremonies and Events here at Keene State College, and it's my job to welcome you and to be the facilitator for this session today. Once again, we are using Zoom meeting. You've heard this a number of times now. The idea is we hope that this creates a little bit more energy and activity for the participants of this session, and it will also allow us to use kind of the chat session for the Q&A. If you'd like to ask any questions, please type in waiting into the chat and I will call on you when it's your turn, or go ahead and write any question in the chat and we will pass that along when we get a chance. And finally, everybody's been really good about this, but if you'd go ahead and make sure your microphones are muted, that's been great. It's been really good today. So I'd like to get this started and hand this off and turn it over to Keith and Anand from Mary Washington and let them get this started.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's great to be here in a sense and to see you all. I'm gonna share my screen here and tell you a little bit about a course that we're teaching at the University of Mary Washington that we're calling COVID-19 in Context. The course has brought together folks from across campus, offices that have not formally worked together much in the past, and community partners as well, to deliver a service, I think, for the community, for our students, for alumni. It really has reached a very large audience. And so we want to tell you about this amazing experience that we've had. We're actually right in the middle of the course right now. We're four weeks done, and we're in the middle. We're just starting the last 4 weeks now of the course. And it's really been terrific. It really has been terrific. The feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. So we did a nice presentation on it for the asynchronous piece, and so I just want to cover some of the highlights here. It is a 8-week course that we're teaching online via Zoom. Every Monday and Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we broadcast a 30-minute lecture. And I'm going to show you the website in just a second to show you more about what happens during those lectures. After the lecture is over, we have a 30-minute Q&A, and that's open to anybody. So it's exactly the environment that we're in now, except we're using the webinar feature of Zoom. So there's a Q&A box that you can go and enter questions, and you can even upvote questions that you like. So we make sure that the questions that are popular get asked live on Zoom. After the 30-minute lecture ends, we have the incoming students who are in the class join us for small breakout groups. And so we've really taken advantage of this as an opportunity to engage the brand new students entering in fall 2020 in small groups with faculty leaders. And that's really been terrific. That's been a great aspect of the course. The students can earn credit. We're offering 3 credits of interdisciplinary studies. It's pass-fail only, but the credits will be added to their fall transcript when they come in the fall. And so they are getting free credits for this. There's no additional charge if they go over the full-time limit. So I want to just quickly show you the website, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Anand, who will tell you a little more about the nuts and bolts. But let me just pull up the website here for you. Hope you can see the COVID-19 in Context webpage right now. And you'll see we did have a registration here for anybody to register. It all went through the advancement office, actually. And at the time of registration, it did say that the course is free, but if you're willing to make a small donation to help us defray the cost of the Zoom license and other things that we needed to do, we welcomed that. And what happened was more than 500 people did give a small donation. So we actually made plenty of money to cover the cost of the Zoom license, and we even made a profit, if you will, off of it. And all that money is going to go towards undergraduate research programming in the fall, because I'm sure you all know we're struggling a little bit with our budgets right now. If you scroll down here, you can see here's the example of what the course schedule looked like. Every week it's somebody different. The first class period was a bunch of biologists talking about the virus. We had a talk by the economists talking about public policy. You can see there's my colleague Anand talking about how we communicate during a pandemic. We had a great talk about the upcoming election, right? It just goes on and on and on. Lots of different topics. And people really like this aspect of it. Every time that you zoom into the class, it's something different. It's a different perspective on the crisis and a different analysis. So at this point, I want to stop talking and just turn it over here to my colleague Anand to share a few other things here. Let me just share back my PowerPoint here. And yes, Anand.
Great, thanks, Keith. And thanks to Misty and Mark and everybody at Keene State for sponsoring this conference, as well as all of their assistance in getting ready for this session. We really appreciate it. You know, as Keith has mentioned, this was a very unique experience for us. We've never done anything quite like it. And as he is apt to say at the beginning of the sessions on Mondays or Wednesdays, this is the largest class UMW has ever offered. We have over 1,900 people that are registered for it, including 600 or so returning students, 250 incoming students, a whole host of alums and members of the community. So it's a really big tent. And what's been interesting about it is that it's become a fairly iterative process as we were developing it, in part because it was a bit of trial and error. We just didn't know when we were putting this together in the 4 or 5 weeks that we spent actually getting this off the ground, how many people would respond, what the response would be like, and it certainly exceeded our expectations. There have been some real benefits to this, and I don't want to take a lot of time so that we have time for questions. I'm happy to talk about the logistics, how we use Zoom webinars for the sessions themselves, or how we use the Zoom meetings for small group discussions with the incoming students, and also how we're using Canvas to manage the material for the students taking it for credit. But there have been some tremendous benefits that we wanted to highlight. The first being that given all of the complexities and the challenges that we've been facing during COVID-19, I think that you've experienced some of the hits to morale that we've experienced, not just budgetary, but concerns about public health and logistics and planning for the summer and for the fall. This was a project that brought a lot of faculty together and certainly assisted with lifting up a lot of faculty morale, because they had a project that they felt very good about contributing to. And that's how I got involved. Keith first shared this with department chairs, and I was so excited about it. I not only offered to do a presentation, I just said, Keith, whatever I can do to help, please let me know. And there were a number of people that did the same, not only in offering to help with their presentations, but with leading class discussions. I think close to half of all the faculty have offered to lead a class discussion with incoming students at some point this summer while they're off contract. And again, when I talk to faculty, they love the idea of being able to contribute, to be able to connect with our students, to be able to demonstrate exactly what a liberal arts education can provide with a model like this that not only demonstrates it to our students, but to their parents and community members and alums. And it's really a feel-good experience. Secondly, as Keith already mentioned, it generated a little bit of revenue. And that's something that there was a very serious discussion, certainly with our budget office and others, about whether or not there should be a charge for this to be able to participate. And Keith felt very strongly, and I agreed, that this should be something that was free registration for everyone, students, community members, alums alike, and that you have a donate button if they'd like to donate. And we were really overwhelmed with the generosity of the community members and alums to make sure that we could then provide this as free credit, something we've never really, I don't know that we've ever done anything like that before for our students, and to defray the technological expenses to be able to provide it to the broader community. That's also covered the expense of captioning all of the sessions. We hold these on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then we post them on YouTube, and we use the auto captioning, and then we pay somebody, a student worker, that'll go through and clean it all up. So we have a really well captioned video recording of each of the sessions, and those are available on the website, and the revenue has helped pay for that as well. And finally, and probably most importantly for this session, is that it's generated a tremendous amount of goodwill with the community. And this has worked in a number of different ways. Certainly having this open for community members, and we have 500 or 600 different community members that are regularly tuning in to be able to see what our faculty are able to share about their expertise and insights as to what's happening during COVID regarding their discipline and what their expertise might be able to shed some light on and how we're navigating this as a society. But it's also provided opportunities for us to work and collaborate with members of the community in important ways. You might have noticed that when Keith was showing you the website, he kind of stopped at the end on one special session that we added just really within the course of a few days, a special session on social justice protests during the time of COVID. And we invited some community members that were involved in local protests regarding Black Lives Matter. And we had them involved for a special session. And it was a tremendous session. We advertised it about 24 hours in advance. And even though it was outside of the normal times that we would meet, we had 700 or 800 people that were logged in immediately for that session. It was a tremendous success. We've also included a special session just last night on a special briefing with a spokesperson from our Virginia Department of Health to talk a bit about some of their research and work and efforts to support public health initiatives and to deal with COVID. And that was very well attended and had a lot of great discussion, and ran out of time before we could answer even half of the questions that people had. But really great opportunities for us to connect with members of the community, as well as some of the panels. And if you look at the website, you'll see that there are a number of other people beyond faculty at UMW that we've included on these presentations. And that's been a great success and a wonderful opportunity. So Keith, if you want to just go ahead and advance to the last slide, we'll just put this up so that you can contact us. We'd be happy to answer any questions, of course, in this session. And then you have our contact information too, if you'd like to talk about, certainly the mechanics of the course, logistics, or other elements about how we've been able to develop this opportunity to engage not just our campus community, but the broader community as well. Thanks for being here, and we look forward to talking with you about it.
That's great. Thanks, guys. Is there anybody have any questions? Go ahead and unmute themselves.
So somebody asked in the chat, will we continue this endeavor potentially in fall 2020? Yes, actually, there's some discussion about that. Keith, do you want to speak to that, about how this might develop?
Yeah, I think Anand is going to do that in the fall of 2020. Yeah, I mean, we've of course generated so many ideas from this. One of the things that our provost has said is that we really probably should be doing this every summer. The challenge with doing it every summer is, when you're in the pandemic, people are in a completely different mindset. And I think there was a lot of buy-in and willingness of the faculty to jump in and participate and help out in any way they can, because they know we're all struggling right now. If we recover and everybody's in a much better place, I don't know if we're going to get all that buy-in, right? We might, maybe, driven off the success of this summer, it might work out well. So there's the summer, the idea of doing this every summer, I think is a good one. But I think also turning it into a regular offering during the semester is probably not a bad idea either. It's definitely something that the community really wanted. I mean, I'm hearing this constantly. Every time there's a session, I usually get just a couple emails that night. And it's always from random people. It's people I don't know who just felt compelled to write to me and thank me for the session and for the course in general. And just the volume of these things coming every week, it's just clear that there's a desire for this. And, we are a public institution, right? We are here to serve the needs of the public as well. And so I feel like we should be doing more of this kind of thing. How that plays out is not clear to me yet.
I see Kim Armstrong Silcox is waiting, has a question for us.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to ask how you are able to get faculty to participate at such a high level. And you mentioned that being during the time of the pandemic may be different than at other times, but are there financial or other kinds of incentives that are offered to the faculty to participate?
No. In fact, a faculty member came to me and said she heard about this course that was being offered at a school in the Midwest, and just mentioned it to me. I looked at the website for that school's course, and the next day I went to the department chairs. And there are 19 academic departments in arts and sciences, and I just told them about this course, and I described to them what I thought we could do and how that would go. And I said, if you think this sounds interesting, I set up a Google Doc, and I said, go ahead and put in this Google Doc what you think you could contribute or you'd be willing to contribute. And literally within 24 hours, I had a full syllabus. I mean, everybody just came forward and said, well, I would love to give a talk about fill in the blank. And it's not much of a commitment because you're only giving one lecture, right? And I told them, I said, you got to take the 8 hours of material that you think you have and boil it down to 30 high quality minutes, because this is for the community, right? This is not just your students. So you got to think really carefully about how you're going to use that 30 minutes where there are, at the time, I would say potentially hundreds of people listening to you. Well, it turns out it was, we had 1,900 people register. So I think the pressure is on for some of them, but they love it. They're excited over that. And the commitment wasn't too much, just doing the one talk. So it really wasn't very hard. We got them on board very quickly.
Yeah, and in addition to the presentations, I mean, as I mentioned, faculty volunteering their time to lead those discussions. I think a lot of faculty very quickly said, this is a great way to connect with incoming students and get to know them a little bit. They love having the chance to answer questions about UMW or about their own departments. And often what a presenter would do is to say, I'm presenting on July 1st. I'm going to contact all the faculty in my department and see if they'll lead discussion, if they'll help facilitate discussions on that night. And so it's a great way for the department to kind of come together. Now, Keith, there was a question from Bridget about how quickly it was all put together. Can you talk a little bit about the decision-making process?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of decision-making about what to offer. For example, the theater faculty, the music faculty, and the studio art faculty all had some ideas, and I eventually said to them, why don't you do something together as a fine arts, because there was so much that I had to narrow it down a little bit. I only had 16 slots. I really wanted education to be part of it, and the College of Education isn't part of my college, but I really wanted education to be a part of this. So I reached out to them and I reserved a slot for them so that they could talk about the impact on K-12 education. So there was a little bit of that. I think the bigger logistical hurdles were with the other offices on campus. For example, I didn't want to just build a website on the Arts and Sciences page. I wanted it on the university's homepage. Right, so I had to go to the university webmaster and convince him we gotta put this right splashed across the main page. I need to convince the budget office that this class really needs to be run for free. That was probably the biggest battle, to be honest with you. That was the biggest battle. They were pretty adamant that as a public institution who answers to the taxpayers, we are not giving things away for free. And I said, yeah, but we're not used to being in a pandemic either, right? So I had to push pretty hard, but eventually convinced them. All those things took some time, but really from the time the idea came to me until we were teaching our first class was about 5 weeks. That gives you an idea of how quickly we had to work.
There was a follow-up question there about why not a series of events rather than a course. And I think in part because the initial idea came from a model used elsewhere where it was a course. And I think everybody immediately liked the idea of offering this to our students because we were very concerned about our students having to leave early in the spring, and everybody felt we miss our students. We really wanted a chance to be able to connect with them and to maybe be able to make this available for everybody. I think that was one of the primary motivations, is to be able to really connect with our returning students and our incoming students and provide a chance for some continuing connection and engagement. Certainly a concern about summer melt or about retention, but first and foremost about providing them with something that we thought was real value added that we thought they would benefit from.
Yeah, the students who were either at Mary Washington in spring or were in high school last spring, they had a pretty rough time. They went through a lot. And we thought this was really something that we can give back. You hear about distilleries making sanitizer and other universities printing, pieces, 3D printing pieces for ventilators and things like that. Well, here's something we can do. This is something we can do. We can educate. That's what we do well. And so it felt like something that we can do and do as a service for them.
Now, we've learned a host of lessons from all of this, and certainly in terms of how to do something like this again, but I know that a number of us have learned quite a bit about, while we've had some experience with Zoom, for instance, we've learned a lot about how to use Zoom a little bit more effectively with breakout rooms. You know, originally we were thinking about having group discussions with every student that was involved. We realized we didn't have enough faculty leaders for all of that. So we focused on the incoming students, but that's something that we were able to test out in some different ways and find a way for the breakout rooms to work with the incoming students. And so I gave them some experience. I think the students have some facility now with working with Zoom. Many of them probably will need to in the fall. And for faculty, we've been able to use some of these experiences to bring into our faculty development opportunities this summer to talk about the use of the technology, which is great because really what's developed has been a model for the use of the webinar and for the Zoom meetings that we've been able to find some ways to make it work a little bit more effectively. How do you figure out captioning? And that's helped inform preparations for the fall, which has also been great.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate the opportunity to tell you about all this. And please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us if you have questions or want to hear any more details about how we made this work.
Anand and Keith, thank you very much. The one thing after I watched your presentation, the first thing that I wrote down was what to do when the results exceed the vision. And there's, you know, there's so few times that we really have, you know, you had to, maybe it was the best case scenario, but there certainly became a lot of growing pains along with that. And I know we all really appreciate that. We're going to jump ahead to our colleagues from Eastern Connecticut, and Nicholas and Kim, if you're ready, if you'd go ahead and take it away.
So good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for COPLAC to organizing this wonderful conference, for changing the format to give us the opportunity for all of us to be here and to share ideas, because we will use these ideas in the future. And thank you very much for all the people who have been involved in organizing this conference. Thank you to Keith and Anand. It's fantastic. What you did is extremely inspiring, and I hope that with my colleague at Eastern, we'll be able to not duplicate, but to take your ideas to create something similar to serve the different communities. My name is Nicholas Simon, and with my colleague Kim Silcox, Director of the Center for Community Engagement, we'll talk about service learning and working with different communities. So I am an assistant professor of sociology, and I am extremely involved with service learning because it's a great tool to promote a liberal arts education practically applied. Students can concretely apply what they learn in the classroom. So I used lots of group work during class. I don't know what I will do in the fall 2020. I will have to change how students work in group together. And I encourage students to volunteer in the community. However, with the pandemic, it will have to change. We'll have to change the format, and that's what we will talk today. So at the end of the semester, my students have to write a paper to self-reflect on their experience in the community and to discuss what we cover in sociology. And we had to have lots of conversation with Kim Silcox, the director of the Center for Community Engagement, and some colleagues at Eastern to think about how we can move in-ground volunteering in the community to an online form of volunteering in the community to keep our students safe and to keep a member of the community safe. Kim, do you want to mention the different ideas which we came with, and after I can talk more about things that we're doing in the fall 2020?
Sure. So I'm going to share, hopefully I can do this properly. Hope you can all see my slide here. The Center for Community Engagement is part of student affairs, but we work very closely with faculty to engage their students in their classes in real life experiences out in the community. And so we are in this beautiful Victorian house on the edge of campus, and it's a great place for students to come and feel like they're a little bit off campus and sort of get comfortable with being involved in our local community. Our center has a bunch of student leaders, if you can see on the right-hand side, that in the past have worked to get our volunteers to the sites, to train them, to have experiences themselves that then relate back to the programs that they are running. It's been very important for us to have these experienced student leaders running the programs, because there's only 2 of us in the office who are full-time, and there's no way we can get to 45 different programs every week. So we hire students, we do pay them through our student employment office, but we only hire students who have had significant volunteer experience with us. This has been one of the strongest parts of our program, because students listen to other students, as we all know, and these students have drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak. They are passionate about the community, they're passionate about the programs that they're involved with, and it's been such an amazing way for us to get new volunteers involved, because our student leaders talk to their friends, talk to their colleagues in their classes, and we hardly have to do anything to get students to come in, because of the student leaders. So we use them to run our programs. We also use them to be the voice of the volunteers, to give us feedback on what the students are thinking, and also what the community partners are thinking. So if there's something that's happening in a particular day and the partner says something to the student leader, we can get that information right away when the student leader returns, as opposed to waiting for a check-in that we do with the partners a couple of times in the semester. So the student, I can't say enough positive things about these student leaders. We also try to make sure that our programs are, which is what I include on the left-hand side of the screen, that the programs are sustainable, effective, and productive. And I use those 3 different words because we really want to make sure that our programs are meeting the needs of our community, that they're meeting the goals of our students, and that they're actually creating a mutual benefit between our university and the community. So it's not just about going out and you always use the example of picking up trash, but really having an impact in the community. And we've worked very hard over the last 10 years that we've been open to change the mentality of our students from just doing something to, get a requirement over with, to really having an experience that changes themselves personally and also changes the community in a meaningful way. Oops. So one of the ways we do this is we have 2 kinds of programs. I'm going to focus today on our programs that we call community programs. These are programs that are offered once a week, usually once a week, throughout the semester. And the students make the commitment to go to that same program every week throughout that semester. This enables the students to really dig deeply into the social issue involved in that program. The students in the classes are then able to go back to their classes, go back to Nicholas's class, and really talk about their experiences. It's better than reading about it in a book or seeing it on a video. They can really challenge perhaps some of the expectations that they had or that their fellow classmates had. And by going to the same location every week, they are really able to build that, that experience and give themselves the confidence that they need in terms of their critical thinking skills, their communication skills, their time management, to make sure that they are able to get all of the things done so that they can carve out that time every week to go to the program. So not only are they building these skills through their courses, but they're also building what we focus on at Eastern, which are employability skills, and really developing the capacity to articulate what they've learned through the programs and through their classes in a meaningful way. It also is a way for students to, as I've said here, make sure that they've chosen the right major. Many of our students come in and say, you know, oh, I'm sure I've got the right major, but then after they've had an experience, they say, no, this isn't the right thing for me. I need to do something else. And then they move to a different major. So if we can get students to come in early in their career, as a freshman or a sophomore, that gives them the ability to switch before it's too late. On the other hand, you have students that may come in and say, well, I think I want to be a teacher, but I'm not really sure. And then they volunteer in the classroom, and then that solidifies their decision that, yes, I'm in the right place for me. So how have things changed? Well, if you see the photo on the left, we are not going to be having programs where students are all crowded together. That's not going to be happening anymore at any of our campuses. The other thing that we're not going to be able to do is to provide transportation, because we use these 12-passenger vans, and you cannot keep people 6 feet apart in a vehicle like that. So how are we going to make sure that our students are able to have these meaningful experiences? And that's what we've been really digging our heels in about. I don't know why I have this photo in the corner here, sorry about that. But what we're trying to do is come up with sites that still want volunteers to come, and many of them do not, like our senior centers and so on, our senior homes. But there are some places that are within walking distance from the campus that students will be able to go to, and we are working with them to find activities and projects that students can do. So one place is our local soup kitchen that also has a food pantry. They can pre-package food and have it ready for people to come pick up. They can prepare food that'll be served in at the soup kitchen by going in as a small group. They can hold food drives both on campus and in the community, because they'll be able to social distance and wear masks while they're doing that. They can also create social media campaigns about hunger and the need, the really great need for food during this pandemic. Another thing that we're working on, because our activities with seniors has been so impactful for our students, we really want to make sure that we're able to continue that. And one of the things that some of our partners have said is that they have really seen a change in the residents of the senior homes. They've really become more depressed now that the students are not there. And so we want to make sure that we are able to keep that connection with them. And I'm not going to show this video because we don't have enough time, but I do have the link on the bottom of the page here. This is something from CNN that's a wonderful example of a video chat that students can do with seniors and really keep that relationship going. So that's something that I encourage you to look at the video, and something to think about on your own campuses. Are there ways that we can keep both the students and the senior citizens safe, but keep that relationship going? Other ideas that we've talked about are doing chair exercise activities, or even bingo. Bingo is a big hit in some of the senior homes, and they can do that through Zoom or another video conference type of platform. We've talked about potentially doing an oral history project, and in one of the other sessions, I think it was in one of the posters, there was a great idea of how a professor was teaching an oral history class, and that students could do while they're not in the same space. Another idea that we've talked about are podcasts on topics of interest to the seniors. So really reaching out to them ahead of time and finding out what they have an interest in, and then having our students create those sessions that would be of interest to the seniors.
Hey, Kim, it's Mark.
Am I running out of time?
I wanted to second your call for bingo. We've used that very effectively to reach out to a number of different constituencies here, and yeah, we're kind of moving up on time. And
okay,
give somebody,
I'll try to go fast. How much time do I have?
You've got about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of stop there. You all have, if you've seen our presentation, we've talked about all these different things that we want to do, and what we would be interested in is what ideas you all have of ways that you are engaging with your community. I know we have the presenters on now that are going to talk about the summer program, and I was very interested in that because we also have run a summer program for children, and we were really scratching our heads about how to make that happen. So you gave us some great ideas. Thank you for that. But any questions that anyone has about either how Nicholas has run his class or some of the ideas that we're coming up with for volunteering during COVID?
Yeah, if there's anybody out there just wants to unmute themselves, that would be great. I'll give you a few seconds to think a little bit more. The one thing I know about, and Kim, I think both you and Nicholas mentioned this, is, about service and service learning is the self-reflection piece. If you could share maybe an example or two that you think is significant or remarkable that you'd like to share with us about one of your students.
Nicholas, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So I teach sociology, and my end of semester paper is composed of many different questions. I think I have 40 different questions to help students self-reflect on their experience. And they can't answer deeply these 40 questions because it will be writing 60 pages at least. But the students are extremely happy to have this question because they know that they will be able to use this question in other parts of their life, not only in their education, but in the different communities they will be, in their professional community, in their neighborhood community, in their religious or spiritual community, and so on. So the students are really evolving, they are really changing, not only with this experience in the community, but especially self-reflecting on this experience. And what is absolutely fantastic, it's students continue to volunteer in the community semester after semester. We can follow them for a few semesters. So it's a very powerful tool to promote civic engagement.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is we had an example with one of Nicholas's students in a past semester where he said, honestly, the only reason I signed up to do this was because I wouldn't have to take the final exam. But his experience changed his life. and he got so involved in tutoring at the middle school that he went in front of the school board with Nicholas, with his professor, and it gave him a voice, it gave him a passion, and it was something that he never would have experienced if he hadn't been in Nicholas's class. So Nicholas gave him the opportunity to reflect, to talk about that experience and to get his voice, and then to actually be able to articulate that to other people.
And now,
thank you both very much. We really appreciate sharing your story from Eastern Connecticut. And I know, just for those of you who want to hear a little bit more from Nicholas, he is in the next session, and if you'll just stay put when we start the next session at 4:35. So, but we have, and Kim mentioned this, we have a couple from the University of Montevallo, Sarah and Jekka. If you'd like to take it away, please.
Well, hello, and sorry for getting some times confused. Jekka and myself, we both had the time down wrong, and so my apologies. But we are here and excited to be a part. So my name is Sarah Hendren. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Outreach.
And I'm Jekka Sheetmate. I am the Director of the Environmental Education Program.
So what I'm going to do is kind of run through, we put together a quick little prezi just to echo some of the things that were in our presentation video. And so I'm going to share screen, and hopefully this will work well. Let's see. In theory. Okay. Is everyone able to see that okay? Maybe thumbs up or notify me if not.
Yes, we can see it.
Good deal. Thank you. So what we called our project was thinking outside the box, modifying youth programming and community outreach during unprecedented times. I realize for many of us that's an understatement, but that was kind of how we captained this. So just running through some of this. Again, we kind of went through our little intros, and we are at the University of Montevallo, which is located in Montevallo, Alabama. And then we briefly wanted to kind of go over what our initial plans for the summer were before COVID-19 hit. So with Jekka, in her role, we do work in 2 different departments, and while we have some crossover, it's not always necessarily how that happens. So in environmental education, throughout the school year especially, she does programming for K through 12 field trips, utilizing different resources that we have on our campus. Of course, for the summer, she was looking at some more field trips for different groups that would come, youth camps, community workshops. And then for myself, I tend to focus on academic summer camps and workshops for K through 12 groups. And as always, we're trying to build an audience for future opportunities and hit on community engagement goals, and also just create that pipeline for young learners to get acquainted with our university, and hopefully remember us when they're a little bit older and making those decisions about where to go to college.
So I'm going to talk about some of our challenges. This, happened all of a sudden. So right around spring break, when we need to make our final decisions and for summer programs, that's when it all first started shutting down. We weren't sure if summer would look like masks or groups of 25 or less, or what exactly those limitations would be. And we also had limited staff. So the faculty and the students were all pushed towards distance learning for summer, and those are the people that we mainly rely on to act as summer counselors or camp directors and things like that. Our university also didn't have any policy for online platforms like Zoom, especially when you're considering with minors. There's a lot of privacy and security. issues with that. And so we didn't have like liability waivers in place. And also, we really didn't want to be completely virtual because, you know, especially with environmental education, the goal is to be outside. A lot of the K through 12, all in Alabama, was pushed to distance learning. And so we wanted to be able to encourage kids to still get outside, even though some of our content would have to be virtual.
So to say that we did a hard pivot, once again, is an understatement. So just walking through some of the solutions that we came up with, I will say that Jekka and I, knowing that we had very limited time, we ran through several different options and then had to kind of explore what we could actually put together. So this project is a small one, but for us, it still met some of the initial goals that we were trying to achieve. So you see here just a little picture of our free summer activity guide. This is a 36-page activity guide that we mail out for free to any individuals who want to register for it. The target age is kind of a generic K through 5th grade, knowing that some content's going to be better for older learners, some content's going to be better for younger learners. We cover 5 environmental themes. We're able to tie those back to our campus resources, which was great. And then along the way, we've included a pacing guide that started on June 15th with a biweekly newsletter. And every 2 weeks, we send out additional virtual content, a recommended reading list, just different things like that. And it allowed us an opportunity to still capture some of our, I guess, some of the community partnerships that we pride ourselves on. So, for example, in that biweekly e-newsletter, one of the features is ask an expert. So one of our themes, for example, was weather, and we were able to ask weather-related questions of one of the local chief meteorologists at a news station. Going back to that recommended reading list, partner with the local library to put that together, and then also kind of tag back to their summer reading program that they're doing. So just finding even some small ways to connect and find mutually beneficial opportunities. A few highlights, we also put together a couple of supplemental kits, and that's what you see pictured here. On the left is what we call our creator kit. On the right is our explorer kit. We really, this is just kind of a combination of talking to parents and even my own children to kind of think about what would be fun to have in a kit that parents may not want to have to go out to the store or order 1,000 pairs of googly eyes, but they may want 20 for their kids to have in a little craft kit to go along with our activity guide. Like I said, these are supplemental, they're not required. So the program with the activity guide is entirely free. But this just adds a little ease of convenience and something fun for some kids who might be home this summer where they would normally be attending camp. Like I mentioned, the Ask the Expert reading list, it's also given us some additional social media, content and mentions. And then when I talked about some of the different community partners, we also feel like we're meeting some of our community needs. For example, with the Boys and Girls Club locally, they had to reduce their total summer camp registrations to 30%. And because of that, their programming budget was also cut. And we reached out, talked with them, and we were able to supply activity guides for all of their kids coming this summer. We also have a partnership with the local elementary school, and through an anonymous donor, she has provided funding to provide up to 60 of these kits for free to students who might be facing a financial need, but also be bright, motivated children. And then again, just highlighting our campus resources. We're not replicating our traditional day camp curriculum. We wanted to make sure to create something different and not take away from what our in-person opportunities would be at whatever point we get to come back to do those. And the nice thing is, because this is a guidebook that we can mail anywhere, it's actually expanded our participant reach. So even though we've got some small numbers, we're actually reaching people in a few different states, certainly more than we probably would with our in-person opportunities.
So some of the results that have come out of this project is now we have a lot of nice new content for our social media pages and also for our website. So even in the future, we can direct teachers and parents that way. And like Sarah said, it wasn't giving up any of our in-person opportunities and that kind of curriculum. So, you know, it's up there for free. And we were also able to establish our audience base for future camps. So now with the registrations, we know who's interested, and that gives us a greater opportunity to reach them in the future. And how we can expand on this is we, like in fall break and winter break, when we normally wouldn't be able to offer programs, hopefully now we can maybe offer some activity guides. With more time to develop curriculum, we can target specific age groups and maybe even offer like a wider range. And maybe we can go along with different themes like social studies, not just science, specifically environmental science. We can hopefully hit on other things too. I do want to point out the curriculum is not solely science. We add in a craft and an educational activity for each theme so that we are, you know, diversifying that curriculum and hitting multiple needs. So, yeah.
All right. So that is definitely a quick overview. We did do sort of a video, a full presentation, and that is available on the COPLAC annual meeting website. And through that, we also included some additional pictures and just where you could see some of the different materials that we have, and also on that shared Google Drive folder, we went ahead and uploaded a few sample pieces, and then our website that we're running the registrations and things like that through, and you can peruse and even see the newsletter content as it hits. We also post it there, but that's the montevallo.edu/EE programs. And here is our contact information, and maybe appropriate timing, but I was actually laid off yesterday. Today is my last day, just due to budget cuts and things. So this is my personal email address and phone number, and Jack and I were talking earlier. We're very proud of this project, and certainly happy to connect with anyone if we can help in any way.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I could speak for everyone and just say that, you know, our heart goes out to you, and that we wish you the best, and we really appreciate you coming and presenting and talking a little bit about your program today. So I just wanted to say that, and also just wanted to remind everyone, if you have any questions, you can let us know in the chat box. You can also just unmute right now if you'd like, but I'll give you a little time. And can you guys tell us what you said? It's an 8-week summer program. Are you 3, 4, 5 weeks into the program right now? What's the story?
So with the self-pacing guide, when we sent out everything, the very first biweekly newsletter went out on June 15th. So our second newsletter actually deployed yesterday, which is kind of ironic timing. And we will have 3 more themes. So technically, if I think through 2 weeks and then 3 more, so yeah, that's what, 8 more weeks if I can do my math. I was a communication major. So this is actually, when we created this and put this together, we wanted to position it where the program would end right about when school would traditionally be starting around here. So the last newsletter would be happening right around mid-August, and that's when students would be going back. And I will add in to that, even like Jekka said, we didn't want to create too much virtual content, also because many kids around here, it's definitely a diverse population. You have lots of suburban areas, and then you also have different communities that are a little bit lower income or maybe more rural. So we really liked the idea of putting together a tangible item, and again, just making it accessible even for kids who might not normally get to come to our in-person camps. So mailing it for free, registering for free, and then just something that they can kind of do on their own time throughout the summer.
And do you have any success stories to tell us about right now? Do you have something from a parent that said, hey, this has been really great for my child. He would have never have tried this in a big group of people, but he's over the moon doing it by himself, or
And I'm sorry, Jekka, you may jump in. I know that I talk incessantly, so she's used to it now.
No, yeah, I don't think anyone's reached out to me directly. I have gotten a lot of pictures back of you know, a kid either making one of the crafts, or one picture of them just like so intensely interested in one of the science experiments. So that was a lot of fun to see that, you know, they love it. My niece, she's 8 years old. She read one of our creature features for the weather theme, and she was like, oh, she calls me Thea because Spanish, and so that's how you say aunt. And so she was saying, Thea, I already knew a lot about frogs, but I actually learned some more from your book. And I was like,
right. Well, and I have 2 kids, completely different ages, a 13-year-old daughter and then a 7-year-old son. So while we were putting these ideas together, they definitely were a focus group for us. And the nice thing is the little activity guide, and I purchased one of each kit for my kids. And I mean, within moments of getting that, it was almost like Christmas morning, ripping into it and dividing up who got what, who got the miniature clipboard, who got the washi tape. I mean, it's so funny. But alongside that, like Jekka said, I've had a couple of friends, a couple of moms, different ones reach out to me and say either the kits were a huge hit, or, you know, we're working on our weather stuff right now, and sent pictures of their children doing the cloud in a jar activity, and then telling us that it also prompted them to look for some additional resources. So looking up the Magic School Bus and watching some of that, you know, related to weather. So it encouraged them to explore that theme a little bit further. And that's really exciting for us too, that it's not just take this little bit of content, but that they were able to, you know, to look into it a little bit more.
yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think we'll need to wrap it up now. I think one of the lessons I've learned today now is from a couple of different sessions, if you put it in a paper bag and make it a secret, I think people get really excited about it, no matter if they're 4 or 40. So keep that in mind. Thank you all to the presenters, Keith, Anand, Sarah, Jekka, Kim, and Nicholas.